So cart is actually nested in header. Header's right here. And this is actually where I've got the cart. So let's just fake some data right now. Link equals plugging myself. Look at that. And then the number of items is 2. That's a number, right? There we go. So on re-render, look at that 2, and this should go to, haha, my website. Plug, there we go. So check out my website. It's my blog. Okay, great. So what to do next? Layout now needs to be able to grab the cart from Shopify when it mounts. So I can use that same use effect stuff in layout. I lost it. Oh my God. Yeah. Let's see. Let's go to GitHub. Grab that code. Where did I just pull it out of? The cart component. Yeah, I need this. I want this. Use effect. Git cart. Time to look at my helpers file for Shopify. So I've got a couple things. Git cart says, look at local storage, grab the cart ID, and grab it. What other methods did I have here? Set cart. Where's set cart defined? What the heck? Let's find it. Layout.js set cart. I don't even. Oh, that was from use state, the use state hook. That makes sense. Okay. So layout's going to need to hold this data and pass it into the cart component. So let's just make some state. So we'll import use state. Define this and let's call it like cart. And set cart is going to equal use state. Which is initially nothing, I suppose. What does initialize cart do? Yeah, okay. Maybe I should just roll this into get cart. Get item Shopify cart ID. Like literally, is this the same thing? Yeah, in the case that it exists. Get cart does local storage get item. Right there. Then it does an await on the fetch. Oh, this is like just the cart ID. Well, we might as well get the whole cart, right? So create cart is correct. Yeah, let's get rid of this initialize cart and roll it up into just get cart. So get cart says, please give it to me. If we don't have an ID, we log that it doesn't exist, create it, set it in local storage, and we should return the cart. Otherwise, we already have the cart. Or we already have a cart ID, and we should fetch it. We'll return cart either way. Yeah, cart's not defined because it's inside of this conditional. So how do I want to do this? Just do something like this. The cart is nothing at first. And we can get something back here. Or we can get something back here. And then we'll return the cart. So initialize cart can go away. I still want my console log messages though. So from here, instead of initialize cart, we'll do get cart. So use effect, we want get cart right out of the gate. Yeah, and we only want it to run on mount and unmount. Okay, I guess I did need that conditional there. Okay, went silent there for a second. So get cart is asynchronous, so we have to handle it in a then. So after that, I'm just printing when I get back. Which is, yeah, the actual cart object. Sweet. So I can put that into state. So once it's done, I can call set cart with the cart object. So we should be able to watch state change. Problem is, stupid React Dev tools don't support hooks yet. So what I'm going to need to do is log the cart object. So we'll log it first, and then we'll log it after. So a hard refresh here. We have nothing. Oh, the effect triggered. Hey, please give me the cart. Oh, I already have one. Here it is. Yeah, there's one thing in there. All right, so let's try this. We're going to go to our application, clear the site data. Actually, we need to go to local storage. Yeah, okay, it's gone. So we don't have any keys in here. And now what we're going to do is hard refresh the page. Okay, cart is nothing. Use effect comes along. Please give me a cart. No, I don't have one. Now I made one. Here it is. So we do have a cart ID in here, and we do have the cart, which is it's a fresh cart, so there's nothing in it. Oh, right, that still says 2 because we hard-coded it. Okay, great. Now we have this in state, supposedly. Let's see, we should have something in state. React, this should be the layout component. Hooks, layout. Ooh, okay, I know it's a graph model, right? It doesn't let me expand it, but okay, we know it's a graph model. This is working. Okay, get rid of all this. I still don't understand hooks really, like the use effect hook. It doesn't let me. It's not supposed to return anything. And I can't put await here. Yet, like, I've abstracted get cart into this method over here, which is asynchronous. And I'm unable to like just wait for it. I have to handle it with a promise. So for instance, like, okay, let's say async. I'm gonna just make a copy of this. So let's test this. Use effect, I actually want it to be async because I just want to get the cart and then I want to set the state. So once I retrieve the cart from the asynchronous get cart method, it'll either create it or just retrieve it based on the ID in local storage. Then I can set it. So I believe React yells at me here. Yeah. An effect function must not return anything besides a function which is used for cleanup. Looks like you wrote this or returned a promise. Now this is where I'm confused. Look at this example. Async function, whatever. Well, what do you think getCart is? An async function. Okay, great. And they're just calling it like that. So, use effect. They're calling it exactly like this. Some async function. Let's see. What's so different about this? Fetch comment. See, like in their example, what would fetch comment do? I mean, it should return something, right? So I really want to be able to say get cart, have it return something. But look what happens. Get cart is asynchronous. Look what's going to happen here. It's a promise because it's asynchronous. So how do I, without putting a then there, I don't know how to handle this case. I'm going to spend 2 seconds looking it up. Asynchronous use effect. Okay, show me. Perfect. He tries to use an async thing. It doesn't work. I mean, they're assuming you're doing whatever it is you need to do here. Like you can't wait for this to be done, if that makes sense. This function has to completely encapsulate everything asynchronous. So because of that, see, that's why I was making like these other random functions like look, what if I made this thing called like that's why I had something like initialize cart, which would just call get cart and set cart on the cart object. So let's log it out. Initialize cart is running there. Let's log the initial cart, and then we'll log the cart after that occurs. And so now our use effect doesn't have to be async because the other initialize cart encapsulates it. And you just do that, and that's it. Yeah. Does it work? Cart's undefined here. Interesting. Why would it be undefined? I gave it. Why would it be undefined? I gave it a value here. Cart is declared, but its value is never read. Yeah. Probably makes sense. So here's the new cart. And we set cart with new cart. How about that? Yeah, that's why. See, so that works. It's just, look at this, one more layer of abstraction that you have to have that I really don't enjoy. Can I move this into the Shopify helper file? No, because it relies on state. So this is kind of like begging for its own custom hook, which again, I'll write later, that does both of these things. So there you go. There it is. Yeah, cart is declared, but its value is never read. Right, because now we have to, okay, so what's going on? So we've got the cart data inside of layout. There it is. Nothing. So I think now what we need to do is make a consumer, because I don't want to pass this down to header and on and on and on. So the consumers are very new to me, but I just know that instead of passing the data to header and then to the cart, we're not going to have to mess with that. So let's look up the docs. Not a consumer, I mean context. Use context. So there's a provider and a consumer. That's it. That's all I have on it. Shit. React use context example. Okay. So I still have to create a context. Right? No? Yeah, what code goes here? Function display. Function display. There's the consumer. Right, so number context has already been defined. This isn't a very good explanation. It's too complicated for first example. What else do we have here? Use context. Here we go. Yeah, see, look, he has to make one first. And then you just use it. Okay. Okay. So let's see. React.create context, huh? Cart context equals react dot create context. Let's just do cart context dot provider to wrap everything in this. And I think the provider has to, yeah, give like a value. What does the reference say? Accepts a context object and returns the current context value. So this would be used like instead of the consumer? Yeah, instead of the consumer. So you still have to have the provider. I have used in our app component. Okay, yeah. Okay, I hate to say it, but there's a much better video on this. A cat of mine, one of my favorite YouTube channels. I think it was one of his latest videos talks about, yes, use context. This was such a good video. I'm going to link this in the chat. This was an awesome description. I'm just going to muddle my way through this instead. Wait. So as far as context goes, yeah, no. Just trying to find a use context example. Here we go. Yeah, so this is like a separate file. So the context is created in a separate file, and then you've got the place where the provider occurs, which you have to explicitly use that. Context user. And then when you do use context, it just gets the value. So like it replaces the consumer. Okay. Let's try this. So the context that I'm creating here needs to be accessible outside of this scope. So let's just make like a new folder in source called context. Get a new file there, and let's call this the cart context. So we're going to import this from React, and we are going to import create context. So const cart context is going to equal create context. I'm going to export default cart context. That's it. That's that whole file. This is just so we can import it later. Like in this example, the whole purpose was that you could import that context here and then just do use context on it. So why is this nicer? Because you don't have to use like a render prop or child components. This is just a function that returns a value that you can then use here. And this value updates anytime any of the tree above it updates. This is pretty good. Okay, so back here, we have our context, cart context. We need to import it here. Import cart context from context, cart context. So now we've got the provider, and we can set the value. And the context we want to hand to anything below us is the cart. Cart context will give cart. So inside of the header, which is here, is the cart component. So instead of passing props from layout to header to cart, we're just going to import use context from React. This is where it gets interesting. So cart actually takes no props at all. Oh. So this is weird. So I can actually, you're telling me, the docs are telling me, I can give cart no props. Take this all away. And then do something like this. There's the return. So you're telling me that I can literally just do use context and grab the cart context, which we haven't imported yet. And that's the cart. So this will be like cart dot, I think it was called web URL. I don't know what this is yet. I don't know what any of this is yet. So that's junk. So let's print it and see. Oh, right. Okay, so I still have the prop types there. I can remove the prop types. So what do we have? We need line items dot length. And what's the link? It's .web URL. Okay, this is ridiculous. Okay, it worked for a second there. Oh, because it doesn't exist, right? This doesn't exist yet. How does the Gatsby store handle this? Context. Checkout. Look at that. They do default line items to nothing. And yeah, and that's why. Line items dot length. Interesting. So that when they actually have what is cart indicator? I don't know what all this is. Yeah. So that means we just have to initialize cart to line items that we shouldn't break anymore after that. So what's happening here? This is cart.js 17, cart.js 17. Let's go re-render is happening sometimes. It's going to 0 for some reason. So when I change pages, cart.js 7 line 17 runs. Cart.js line 17. Right. Right, because it's just getting the value. Shopify 25. Is this during network requests? I suppose so. I mean, it's gotta refresh the cart. So if I go here, yeah, I mean, it's still, yeah. So what about the Gatsby store? It's like, I don't know, let's say, okay, I've got something in the cart. So are they actually issuing network requests? They're prefetching pages. That's sick. Holy shit. I don't know. Oh, GraphQL, there it is. No, but not the card. We're doing okay right now. So what happens if I add something? Like, that's the test, right? There's nothing in here. I have nothing to say, like, refetch cart. Again, how does Gatsby do this? Add variant to cart. This dot handle submit add variant to cart. So there's a callback function. So what does it do? Ultimately, it just hands the variant and the quantity to the callback. So add variant to cart. Calls that method, add variant to cart. Add variant to cart. Where is it? It's in layout, right? It's up at the top, sure. and it just sets the state. No, it does much more than that. It sets the state first. Oh, and then adds the new cart to state. Yeah. Which, yeah, which means all these methods are going to be at the very, very top level. Because the whole website is controlled through state. Okay. So cart's fine. This is getting the context. This should update any time something else happens. We should be fine here. Header needs no changes. Shopify needs no changes, I believe. This returns cart, so that's great. Okay, so what's the problem here? The cart gets initialized once and set to state. Perfect. So then I need a way to update state. Need to reset here. I'm getting confused. So we've got... Right now we need the add to cart button to do something with this cart at the layout level. So let's go there. There's the add to cart button. Which is inside of the product form. Yeah, replicated on all the different pages. I really need to make that all one thing. So what does it do? It actually does get added to cart here. But what doesn't happen is we don't set this in state. Yeah, okay, so that's why they're defining these items, or these functions at the top level. So the cart context is actually going to have a lot of stuff in it. It's going to have a cart. It's going to have a add to cart. It's going to have a remove from cart. Let's see, what else does Gatsby do? Maybe look at their context files. Remove line item, update line item. I don't know what that means. And then that's the cart, which defaults to this. That makes sense. So how do they set those values? There's a store context. Export const default store context. So let's find that in their code base. Store context. This is a consumer. We've got the cart, remove line item, update line item. Okay, so this is where they define everything else. Add variant to cart, remove item. All at the top level. So probably here in product form. Does it say? Yeah, there you go. Add variant to cart. It's confusing. A lot of levels of redirection. So what do I have? I've got add to cart and remove from cart. And get variant. Yeah, that's fine. But add to cart and remove from cart need to be essentially global. So then why not just define it in the context? Source context, cart context. Why not just define it here? So like, let's say something like this. So we can copy this out. Just separate that. So like add to cart is actually going to be the method from Shopify. Does that work? Oh, I'm not sure that's gonna work. Because this is all gonna have to update states. You're gonna have to pass stuff into it. Like at the layout level. Here's the cart, which we have to have access to. Oi, oi, oi. I don't like this at all. So much logic needs to get jammed into the layout level so we can have this at state, in state. And we need to do this so that things aren't just pulling data from APIs when they load in. Do we just make everything kind of stupid right now? No, because this is already hooked up. This is fine. This should be able to react. Same with the sleeves. All we need to do is get the pull in the cart context, and we could start using that stuff. Right, so now we've got cart context in here. We could just define a hook. Isn't that how we did it here? Use context, cart context. Use context, cart context. So guess what, ladies and gentlemen? Now we have the cart object right here. Can we modify it? Like what if we did, let's see what's in it, and we'll just change something stupid. Gotta go console. Yeah, oh, that's the cart context. That's not the state. Right. Right. So what if we just said like, no, look at this. It should be immutable. How'd the Gatsby store do it? Store context. Product form. Yeah, they just call that. What about somewhere else? Consumer. Yeah, they're not changing any of this stuff. They change adding? No, they just pass it in. Oh yeah, this is where it gets confusing, man. What if we did like a let, and then we modified it, I just set it equal to like my name, and like will this show up anywhere else? I don't know. No, not at all. Sleeves 45, cart 16. Oh, let's log it out again. But it doesn't matter. Cart still gets the other one. Okay, so for all intents and purposes, this is immutable. So that's why these methods have to be in the cart context. And when the methods are in cart context, they can modify state. So that means they have to be located at the layout level. So this just doesn't work here. So how can we leverage these methods in layout to do this stuff and to modify state? Oh, sure, you could just call it. It'll return cart, and then you can modify the state. So this has to be so much more. It can't just be cart. This dot state dot store, and this, I'm sure it's like some gigantic object. Yeah, look at this. Oh, I do not like this. But if you want okay, so this is where like use reducer or something would be nice. I don't know. Does this need a default value? Like, I don't know, I guess. Can I just like pass down multiple things? Like, what if I just something like that? So I'm just trying to stub out these methods and leverage everything I can. So this would call add to cart. You know what, let's just log something here. So there, we're passing them down in the provider. So the cart, add, and remove. So now this all needs to change. So this needs to change. So this is the cart context. And let's grab the cart from there. That should still be good. Okay. Talk, Brad. You're sitting here in silence. It's not the point of live streaming. So now we've got the cart context, which now has the cart in it and the two methods. So let's just try to like on submit, right? That's where we need it. So we need cart context dot add. No. Dot add. That's it. And cart context dot remove. Let's see. I don't know. Cart context dot add is not a function. Well, let's do this then. How about that? Set the defaults. Seems to be doing nothing. How is Gatsby doing this? Add variant to cart. And it's just a function. So this is an object where this is a function. Context provider value. What's in cart context? Yeah, there it is. Add and remove. On submit sleeves. It should get called. Cart context dot add. It should be this add method here. I don't understand why. Why is this getting the default value all the time? So in Gatsby's context, they set default values, yes. And they create the context with the default values, store context. But then in their layout, they expand this to overwrite this to be just another function. And this is what this dot state, yeah. And they pass it down into the provider way down here. It's just a giant object. That's it. Cart, add, remove. Okay, let's get real cheesy here and just literally make functions. That's it, look at that. Still nothing. Sleeves on submit. It's logging this. I get nothing here. They exist. There's just nothing. I don't know. I'm 100% stumped. What happens if I don't have any default context? Some break? Yeah. So they exist. Like I could put the logs here. And that would work. No, wait. Okay. Here's the default store context. Initialized. That's what they create it with. Then in layout, what do? In layout, they actually use rest spread it's not making a difference. Wouldn't that just reset it? Like, whatever, let's just try it. Export that and then export default. Interesting. So now in layout, we can actually do this. Okay. Okay. Who knows? Maybe this will work. I'm following exactly what Gatsby Store is doing. Rest spread on the default, then add some new properties. And then pass it in. Is it because I'm defining it down here? What the hell? I don't know. I need to watch another video on context. So I think that's going to be the end of this coding session tonight. It's been a total mess. And we'll pick up on this tomorrow after I watch some more tutorials. A cat of mine to the rescue. We'll see what he's got on use context. Maybe I can figure out what the heck is happening. Alrighty guys, thanks for watching. Hopefully we make more progress tomorrow. Later.